What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention. A fellow exile. One more fool under Zana's sway. Allow me to destroy you before she has a chance to betray you too. At least, my way is quick. You slew my friends! You brought ruin to my world! You have invaded my very sanctum. I should be furious, and yet I feel how boring and small. Destroying you is as easy as flicking a pest. Did you really think this would work? I transcended all this long ago. Feel the thrill of
The void. Why run? What's the point? Your lives are meaningless. Watch beauty crumble. Die.
you are. Ready to revisit the past?
Hey guys, it's Kane here, coming at you with another build guide. Last league I did a Leaf Slam of Groundbreaking Gladiator, which was pretty good. It was probably one of my best league starts that I have. This league I ended up doing Soul Rest as my league starter, which was really fun. First time I've ever done a minion build. But I ended up doing some theory crafting with Elementalist because I really like the way that the Liege of the Primordial is now one passive as opposed to two. So it kind of combined the two. So you get +2 maximum summon golems, 100% increased buff effect. Golems are immune to elemental damage. But the most important thing, and the thing that really caught my eye, was summon golems are resummoned 4 seconds after being killed. The other thing that really caught my eye was the Dark Monarch, which doubles a minion of a specific type, but disables the other types of minions. Obviously, you're an Elementalist, you want golems, and the really cool thing about golems specifically is you can have multiple different types of golems. So it's not really that big of a downside. So all in all said and done, with everything that we have here, we have a total of 14 golems that we have at one time. We have +2 from the maximum summon golems from Legion of the Primordial, +1 from Golem Commander. We're using Summon Stone Golem of Hordes, which I'll get into later, which gives us +3 by default, which gets doubled from the Dark Monarch. We end up having a total of like 14 or so golems overall, which is a lot of golems. But why would you need a lot of golems like that? Do you want to use your golems to attack? Well, no. You kind of want to use the summon golems respawn 4 seconds after being killed. I really wanted to do a Minion Instability build. Ever since I saw that node, I've fallen in love with it. I've wanted to make it work. I've tried Summon Raging Spirits of Gigantism. I never really liked how it played. I wanted something automated. I tried using perfect Dark Marionettes, which was okay, but you just didn't have enough of them to make it really work properly. But with this, we have 14 golems that are constantly exploding and constantly causing ignites. So we have, minions have chance to ignite on our items, and minions have chance to ignite on our cluster jewels, which causes a large ignite, well, not massive ignite, it's a decent sized ignite, all automatically. So golems explode, they respawn, they explode, they respawn, they explode, they respawn. It ends up creating a feedback loop of at least a little bit more than one golem explode per second, which is really cool. And the golems do approximately like 2 million damage per explosion. Then we have about like a 4 million DPS ignite on top of that, which is not a very big ignite. It's not a very strong bossing build per se, but it's a very comfy mapping build. You end up being pretty much a 0 button play style. You do press some buttons here and there, like your Vol Discipline, in case you end up going, oh shit, I need to heal myself, my energy shield is low, and your recharge hasn't started. Then you hit Vol Discipline. The other thing that we're utilizing here is, since our minions are dying constantly, I wanted to use Heartbound Loop. So Heartbound Loop will automate specifically Wave of Conviction of Tarathus, which is a very cool skill. I'll kind of go into it a little bit. Let's go into my hideout, kind of show you a bit. The idea behind it is our minions die, so I'll kind of turn on Malevolence, which is supported by Guardian's Blessing. Guardian's Blessing causes the minions to take 15% of the total maximum life. Its an energy shield does physical damage per second while you have the aura active. And since we have so many minions, they respawn before all of them die, and it just stays up constantly. And it's kind of annoying in hideout, so I just kind of turn it off. But you turn it back on when you start before you start mapping, get the loop started, and then you get going. But the Heartbound loop enables our engine for debuffs, which is primarily focused on Wave of Conviction of Tarathus. As you can see here, it's a massive AoE. It's covering the entire screen. The way it does this is the duration. So the longer your duration, the farther the wave goes. So it goes farther and it comes back. Shorter duration, the shorter distance. So like I have more duration support in here and efficacy in here, which increases the duration, and we'll turn the aura back on, and you can see the area effect is significantly smaller. So we put this in, and you can see the area of effect basically doubles or triples. I don't know, it's hard to tell on a radius thing. The other thing we do on top of that on our cast all damage taken loop is phase run, which has permanent uptime because we have more duration, and Malevolence gives you more duration. So the Malevolence is really cool because Guardian's Blessing gives increased aura effect. So it just increases the duration even more. So like if we turn off Malevolence, phase run has a 3.3 second duration. Turn on Malevolence and it goes up by an entire second. We stack that with Rune Warp, Rune Graph of the Warp, and you kind of see that's blue, which shows that it's going down a little bit slower than normal. So it technically has about a 5-second duration, and then typically it comes back up by the time the next cast comes out. So it's permanent uptime on phase run and an automatic Wave of Conviction. So the Wave of Conviction is doing two things for us. It's igniting, well, three things. It's igniting, it's shocking, and it's creating exposure. Well, four things technically, because we have elemental weakness on hit. So we have fire exposure, minus 13% fire resistance, elemental weakness, minus 15% elemental resists, and then Mastermind of Discord, which gives an additional 25% on top of that, and then of course we also have Combustion, which gives an additional 10% on top of that as well. It ends up being something like 63% reduction of elemental resist, which is huge. Just automatically, as we run around, it just happens. You don't have to press anything. Really cool. Now, one thing that kind of gets overlooked here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, it's annoying, is the way Shaper of Flames is going to work with different instances of Ignite. So obviously, Shaper of Flames says enemies ignited by you have 40% physical damage they deal converted to fire. But our minions are the ones doing the Ignite. So what's the point in having Shaper of Flame? Well, yes, the minions Ignite is doing more damage, but that doesn't mean you can't have multiple Ignites. So you can have one instance of Ignite that does less damage, which adds, say, Combustion, for instance. And this has been proved by multiple testing. You can look on the wiki. There's some links to different videos that support this. But you can have multiple different Ignites, but only the largest damaging Ignite is the one that's doing damage. So your own Ignite still exists, which will cause the enemies to have that debuff, and it'll also have this debuff from Combustion. And of course we have the Cinder Swallow, which is going to work as well. So we'll have the Malediction, increased damage taken, we have the Combustion, and then of course everything else. So I said over here we have Shock from the Wave and Conviction as well. We use Shock based on the Forbidden Flesh and Flame combo, which we're using for Shaper of Storms. Then you can min-max it and do some other one. Shaper of Storms was just the least expensive one that I could find. And it gives us Shock and Ignite and our exposure. It's our primary debuff engine. The primary damage is going to be Summon Stone Golem of Horde. So The way that Minion Instability does its damage is going to be scaling minion health and scaling minion damage. Now, minion damage does technically do more for you past a certain breakpoint on health, but I don't know what the calculation is. POB kind of tells me what's best and what's not. I don't really trust it too much, but yeah, it is what it is. The links that we have for our main damage setup is obviously going to be Summon Stone Golem of Hordes, which we use because of the maximum summon golem modifier here. The more golems we have, the more constant explosions that we have, the more consistent our damage is. Summons and Stone Golems specifically have the most damage or most health of all of the golems. Now you can use other golems, you can use different golems, but Stone Golems are just better. I've done a lot of testing. I don't recommend anything else. So we link that with obviously minion life support, give them more damage, which gives minion instability more damage. And then we have Empower, which increases the Summon Stone Golem's HP, because the higher level they are, the more HP they have. And we're combining that with a Cane of Kulamak with +3 level of socketed support gems. And that gives us a level 7 Empower, which gives us +6 to the socketed support gem. So that's +6 from the support. And then we're also getting +3 from our Replica Dragon's Flight, and then +1 from the Dark Monarch, which gives us a total of 10 additional levels to 31. So approximately have about 400,000 life on our Summon Stone Golems, which does create quite a decently sized explosion. The other tech that we're using is Ignite Proliferation. Now you can use Elemental Proliferation if you don't have enough Ignite chance, say on your jewels or through other means. But Ignite Proliferation is just more damage. It causes proliferation in a larger radius and more damage, so you want to have Ignite Proliferation as quickly as possible. So, like I said, you need to have Ignite chance. Now, my mercenary has flammability on hit on his ring, so I don't technically need as much Ignite chance as I have. But I wanted to make sure I got as close to 100% without flammability as possible, just for consistency's sake. So your Darkness Enthroned, I would recommend at least a 90%. I just got lucky and had this drop early on in the league when I was using my my other build. But you're going to go ahead and get as much Ignite chance as possible and minion life as possible on here. Life and mana, some resists here and there, maybe some attributes, whatever you need to fix in here. But the two most important things are the Ignite chance and the life. You must have those in your Darkness Enthroned jewels. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The other thing, obviously, we have a lot of Abyss jewels on ourselves. We are very much socket starved on here, mostly because we are using Primordial jewels with the Anima Stone to get an additional Summon Golem, and more life and more damage. Golem summon in the last 8 seconds deal increased damage, which does work. That does stack per jewel, and your golems don't last longer than 8 seconds, so they always have that buff. So we have 3 of these and then 1 Anima Stone, which increases our golem count technically by 2 because it doubles from the Dark Monarch. It's very important to have these. So that's 4 jewels that are eaten up there, and then 2 jewels that are eaten up for our Forbidden Flesh and Flame, and then 1 jewel from our Glorious Vanity from Doriani for Corrupted Soul. I'll get into the defensive later. And then the Thread of Hope for the Glancing Blows, which I'll get into my rationale on that in a little bit later. But the offensive engine is pretty much focused on the minion death loop. We cast our Malevolence from Guardian's Blessing, the minions die, Causes our Heartbound Leap to cast Wave of Conviction, causes us to have Phase Run, causes us to spread Shocks and Ignites, causes us to expose, and then it just debuffs the enemies and makes our Minion Ignite stronger. It's not a very strong Minion Ignite. Technically, it's around 4 million DPS. The minions themselves each explode, do about 2 million damage per explosion. So it's okay. It can't do Ubers. It can do 16.5s and can clear T17s, but it's not very comfy in T17s. It's primarily just a mapper for 16s and 16.5s as a very comfy, laid-back playstyle. But you know, that's the crux of the offense of the build. On the Moose Gaze, the other thing I didn't catch on, but it does give us, which is the reason why we have Bubonic Trail to begin with, is so that we can get 5 Ghastly Eye Jewels to cap out our on Moose Gaze. So we have Bubonic Trail gives us extra reservation efficiency, which helps our defensive layer as well. Which again I'll get into in a second, but 5 Ghastly Eye Jewels, capped out, damage over time, debuffs, ignites, minion life, tattoos, cluster jewels, Primordial Bond, Raisin Pillage, and Rotten Claws. Is the most efficient one. The Primordial Bond and Raisin Pillage are very important. More Ignite chance, more Golem life, more buff effect. These are very important. You must have at least 2 of these exact cluster jewels for the build to even function. I wouldn't recommend trying it without it. And then the other thing that we must do for this engine to work is Life from Death, which causes minions to recover 4% of their life on death. And at least 2 of these, or 1 plus the Minion Defense Mastery. I mean, I'll briefly show what it looks like without it. So like, if we unspec this, our minions die super fast. Yeah, that's great and all. You do more DPS, but like, our energy shield, you can see, goes down and takes a while for it to recharge again, which ends up being a little bit too inconsistent for my taste. And since we're Ignite, we don't need the constant damage from the Golem explosions. So I just kind of put both of these in here, so I found the timing to be best for 9% life on death as opposed to 8%. So our recharge kind of happens in between Golem deaths. And it's kind of weird to kind of do castable damage taken with Energy Shield, but I wanted to do it. So our defensive layers are a little bit strange. We are using Corrupted Soul, like I said before, which causes half of our damage to bypass our Energy Shield. So half of it goes to Energy Shield, the other half goes to life. So we can actually utilize our Golem life regen, which ends up being a significant amount based on all the Golem buff effect that we have on the tree and on here. So that's a huge amount of life regen that we just get for free. And then we also get a huge amount of mana regen, again for free, from our Lightning Golem. And I wanted to utilize that as well, because I'm not really using a lot of my mana. So I decided to go Mind over Mana, plus as much mana as possible, plus as much unreserved mana as I can reasonably afford. So we are running Discipline, but Vol Discipline, not regular Discipline. I mean, we could run regular Discipline, but having more mana is more important than that extra Energy Shield. There are some calculations behind that as far as like how much Energy Shield you want versus how much health and mana that you have. But short story is you want to have 50%, a little bit less than 50% of your life as mana, ideally. And then of that, you want to have equal amount energy shield between the two. So you want to, for me, I have like 2,800 life. I want to have probably around 1,100 mana unreserved. I have 750. Can't really get much better than that. I have a lot of reservation efficiency, 10% from this, 24% from the bubonic trail, 10% or 12% from this, and 12% from this. I don't really want to invest too much more in that. But yeah, so we're splitting all the damage across all sources, and we're utilizing all 3 different recovery things. So we're tripling our recovery. We're using Wicked Ward to make sure that when our recharge does start, that it isn't interrupted by the damage that we're taking from the Heartbound loop. So it kind of makes it a little bit more consistent. It's basically regen with a little bit of jank to it. And if for some reason you ever get to a point where your energy shield is gone and the recharge is not starting, you can just press your Vol Discipline button, it causes the recharge to start, and then you're back in golden. So it's basically kind of like your life lasts a little bit. The rest of your recovery is decent enough. So we have around 2,000 total recovery overall. That's a little bit more while mapping, just because of the way that Masterminded Discord works. It gives you 1% mana regeneration per second if you have Electric Exposure recently. So, and then of course we have the recoup for mana. You can take Infused Flesh for life recoup too, but I struggled to find a reason to add that in there. It's not important. Other thing that we're doing, and I really dislike that constant sound, is we are putting in Glancing Blows. Now, I chose Glancing Blows as opposed to regular block for 2 reasons. For one, I'm already putting a decent amount of avoidance with my Grace and my Evasion. The extra avoidance didn't really feel important. What was more important is making sure that we are reducing the hit damage that we are taking, and as much consistency as possible. So the Glancing Blows does cause us to take more damage overall, but it's not that important considering we have a lot of recoup and regen, and the Heartbound loop is we want to have take damage to do our cast all damage taken setup, so it ends up synergizing decently well to use Glancing Blows. I know POB says that it's less quote-unquote EHP, but it's kind of a trap. EHP is not a very good stat to look at. So whatever feels good for you. If you like Glancing Blows, good. If you don't, don't do it. But it is, in my opinion, the way to go here. So you can end up capping it easily with a Whirling Barrier, Anointed Safeguard, and then an Enigmatic Defense and Mystic Bulwark. So you don't need much investment into block for it. And you're already going to be getting these anyway for the for the Mana Masteries. So it ends up synergizing fairly well. Other things that we're doing here to scale our defense is a Rune Graph of the Fortress, which gives us 40% global defenses, increases our evasion, increases our energy shield. Very good. So we have global defenses from Fortress plus our Summoned Stone Golem. A very big amount of our scaling for evasion and energy shield. And obviously our chest is a big energy shield and evasion thing, so you want to have energy shield and evasion and necrotic armor. Basic idea here is just to take any necrotic armor base, send it through harvest with reforged defense until you get at least 1 T2 or T1 resist, and faster start of energy shield recharge for the decent amount of evasion and energy shield. Faster start of energy shield recharge, I cannot stress that enough. You must be tier 1. Or this build just does not function properly. You must have tier 1 faster start of energy shield recharge, or the tech just does not work, for Wicked Ward specifically, and the way that our minions just die constantly. So, very important. The other thing here is Fizz damage taken as Chaos. We don't want Fizz damage taken as Ellie because of our Bastion of Elements. We don't want that shield to continuously go down on our self-damage. So we do as Chaos instead. So that helps a little bit with our Fizz mitigation on top of Shaper of Flames, on top of our Comms Binding on our Merc. So some decent defensive layers. I don't die very often. The only times I really die are from one-shots from volatiles when I'm doing T16s, T16.5s, or some very juiced up Ferricium mobs and tier 17s. You're typically moving a lot, and you're not going to be in harm's way a lot. So you're not really taking much damage, and you're not really putting yourself in the situation to take damage. Unless you're going into it and convocating, like you're, passing, doing some sort of airstrike drone raid or whatever, which can be fun, but it can get you killed. But yeah, so you kind of just run around, convocate, and cause things to blow up. But yeah, the defensive layer is okay. I wouldn't call it the tankiest build in the world, but it's tanky enough to do tier 17s. It cannot do tier 17 bosses. I have to swap to my other build for that. It just does not have enough damage. This is primarily a mapper through and through. It's a very comfortable mapper. It is pretty much a zero-button playstyle. I mean, you are flame dashing every once in a while. You are convocating every once in a while. You are pressing your Ball of Discipline every once in a while if you need to. And summoning your Merc if you need to. So, but for all intents and purposes, you can just run around and loot and not do anything else and not pay attention to anything else, and your minions just do all the work, which is really nice. That's one of the main reasons why we even play Mercenaries, is to just let our minions do the bidding, and this build kind of encapsulates that. So I'm going to go ahead and link the path of building in the description, and if you have any questions, feel free to message me. Yeah, I don't really recommend league starting something like this. It has a lot of moving parts to it. A lot of things are required for it to function. You need this chest, you need this helmet, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need all of this for it to function properly. It's expensive. I would say probably in the range of 40 divines to get started at a decent level. I'm not going to put a budget POB in there, but I could if people asked. But it's not a cheap build. It is expensive. It is weak. It can't do bosses. It's a mapper. Once again, comfortable mapper, but a mapper.